Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your sleep-deprived host, Tony Cañas, switching to my radio voice. And today I have with me Charlie Sidoti, Executive Director at InnSure. That's INNSURE, as you can see behind him in his very well-designed, you guys have a good marketer. Charlie, first of all, thank you for joining me today. Before we start recording, we chatted a little bit that we were both at InsurTech Insights New York last week. I thought it was fantastic. By the way, I have not had a chance. I see that you live in Boston. Have not had a chance to make it to InsurTech New England. I don't know if you have, but it's by the same people that run InsurTech Hartford, InsurTech Atlanta, InsurTech Chicago, InsurTech Tampa. So looking forward to make it there. Brian Falchuk's involved. So looking forward to make it to that. I don't know if you've made. Did you make it to the one?
Yeah, we've
How
been
was
and
it?
we know it was great. It's always great. They do great work, and we're huge
Awesome.
supporters of everything they
Next
do.
time, I'm probably flying in to go to that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll host you in the city and we'll show you around for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love Boston. Love Boston. So it is June. We're recording on June 14. I'm guessing Boston and the New England region at this time beautiful.
It's pouring rain out there right now,
Okay, got it.
but it's under that rain, it's beautiful.
Okay, New York last week was so humid.
Yeah, it was
So
very
humid.
humid. It was for
It
sure.
wasn't overly hot, but it was so humid. And Thursday, I left the conference a little bit early. I went to Chicago, had a great time in Chicago. Chicago was beautiful. And then the return from Chicago was a mess. And then yesterday was a mess. I got no sleep because of a bad air conditioning unit. But you are my last meeting before hitting the town with my girlfriend. And a very nice, relaxing weekend before heading to Scout InsurTech in Columbus, Ohio, followed by Rice in Fort Lauderdale. So we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is InnSure?
InnSure is a nonprofit innovation hub focused on innovation and insurance, all related to climate change. We look at it through the lens of what does the world need from the insurance industry to deal with climate change, which we think is also good business for the industry. So we look at both sides. We look at how can better and new insurance products and services accelerate the transition to a low carbon economy. And we also look at how does insurance need to be reimagined to close the protection gap. The protection gap is large and it's getting bigger because risk is increasing in part because of climate change, but also other things, catastrophes. More than 50% of them are uninsured. So that's a real problem for the world. And if it continues to grow, the insurance industry will be irrelevant. We don't want that to happen. We love the industry. So we want to figure out ways to accelerate the transition to a low carbon economy, fix the root cause, but also uh, get insurance in as many people's hands as possible to protect against the impacts of climate change, and also be a signal to help people invest more effectively in resilience. I think insurance has a real role to help individuals, enterprises, and communities. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, and I can go into our programs
Okay,
if we want a little.
perfect. Thank you for that great introduction. Okay, so this is very close to my heart, and this is very, very, very important.
Nice.
Um, and let's kind of take it from the bottom. Even though most of the listeners will immediately understand why insurance plays a big part in this. We do have a lot of young listeners who are new
Yeah.
to the industry, or maybe even students interested in the industry. That does happen nowadays. Uh, and I want to make sure that we kind of like the why is really important. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm not going to waste time on asking about the science of climate change because neither of us are scientists. I don't. Well, I'm
Right.
not. I don't think you are. And uh, for the listeners, the science. All you need to know is the science is settled. Go look it up. Okay. Uh, and exercise media literacy and critical thinking as you look it up if you need to look it up. Okay. But why insurance? Why does insurance matter in this? Okay. And I'm going to give my thoughts and correct me
Yeah.
where I'm wrong. Okay. So, what people don't realize, people who don't work in this industry or who are newer to the industry, don't realize two very, very important things. Maybe three, but let's start with two. Number one, if you can't get insurance for it, whatever it might be, you can't do it, at least not in the US and other developed countries. Okay. So, number one, if every insurance company tomorrow decided to no longer insure dirty fuels, literally, there would be no more projects in the US in that space because they would be impossible to do in a profitable way. Okay. But the piece that people don't realize is that insurance not only has that power, but it also has it. We are the shadow bankers. There is literally a book from like the 80s called Shadow Bankers about insurance. Basically, all of that money, right? What is an insurance carrier? What do they carry? Well, they carry capital and they carry risk. Okay. And for younger insurance professionals who have not, read the Buffett letters. Okay, the Buffett letters to the shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway, or the summary that Insurance Nerds wrote several years ago, insnerds.com, explains how the beauty of insurance as a business is that it produces a bunch of capital that you can then invest for X amount of time. It's called float, or Buffett calls it float. And then you pay the losses and hopefully keep the difference. Okay. So some lines of business are very short-tailed. You only get to invest them for a little bit. Some lines of business are really long-tailed, and you get to invest those premiums for decades. Okay. So insurance companies are sitting on a ton of money to invest, and where they invest that money has influence in society. Okay, so if anybody's ever been to Columbus, Ohio, and wonder how come all of Columbus, Ohio is nationwide branded, from the airport, excuse me, from the Columbus Blue Jackets, the only professional sports team in town, from their arena, the Nationwide Arena, to the street that arena is on, Nationwide Avenue, to the Nationwide Children's Hospital. Why is everything Nationwide branded? Because they own half the real estate in town, because they have to invest all those premiums somewhere, right? And historically, insurance has invested in whatever's most profitable, including oil and gas, right? European insurance companies and European reinsurance companies are getting a lot better at moving away from those investments. In the US, we lag behind. Okay, and one third piece that is also important. So we have what we underwrite. Number two, what we invest the trillions of dollars, quite literally with a T, in premiums as an aggregate industry. Assumes being stupid. And number three, insurance historically has played an amazing role when it comes to pushing the society to be safer, right? The reason we have seatbelts in cars is because insurance invested in that. And same thing with airbags, and same thing with fire safety for buildings. So many things in society improved because insurance companies realized that it was a win-win for them and society to improve safety and things. So anyway, I just spoke for like 10 minutes. Okay.
Yes, and yes, and I love your point about if you can't insure it, you can't do it. And you use the coal example, but there's also billions of dollars going into clean technology, like the windmills behind me, but also things like large scale battery storage, advanced geothermal energy, solar, wind, a lot of different things. And those are really new. And just like you talked about insurance, if you go back 100 years, Grover Cleveland, the president, and Edison were at the World's Fair. They flipped the switch on electricity when it was at 0.5% of market share. And the insurance industry was there and they said, oh my God, this is going to electrocute people and burn down buildings. But at that time, they went and they created underwriter laboratories, an army of engineers to,
Exist to
as
this
you
day.
said,
You are
make it
approved.
safe and insurable and create a market. And that's what needs to happen today to all these new technologies that are being invested in billions and billions of dollars being invested in new energy,
Hmm.
retrofitting buildings. And it's like some of these large scale battery, they do have fire issues, and they also have um how do you commercialize these things? Like, what is the business model around them? So a lot of venture capital money has gone in to prove the technology, but then they go to banks and they need to get loans to scale. And this is where insurance can come in. And one of the things we're trying to do is create novel insurance products that can create some performance guarantees to make it easier for these development projects to say, hey, we have a floor on the revenue. So if the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow, you can still invest in us, utility or bank or whatever. So insurance has a real role in, as you say, both helping to de-risk them through expertise and making them safer, but also transferring risk. And also on the investment side, the insurance industry can invest they do invest in real estate, but they can invest in kind of resilience and decarbonization in a way that provides them a return on their investment beyond the direct return, an indirect return to their underwriting side. And those are the kinds of things we're trying to promote, accelerate, support, etc.
Perfect. So one thing that I want to explain a little bit better again for kind of the young
Sure.
listeners is uh I I'm not an actuary. I'm a former underwriter, right?
Me too.
But the pricing and even our willingness to insure something um is based on actuarial science. And actuarial science is backwards looking. So basically, whenever something new comes up, Uber,
Yep. Yep.
Uber starts, and
Yep.
the technology people are super excited, the investors are super excited, the users are super excited. Insurance is like, no, we can't
Right.
insure that because it is neither personal lines auto nor commercial lines auto. We don't have data, right? And it can take us 10 years to get enough data, right? So a part of it is um energy underwriters, quote unquote, which really 90% of the time means oil and gas. Right, Houston is packed with them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Energy underwriters, what they've underwritten for 100 years is oil and gas,
Yeah.
right? They are not yet comfortable with the newer technologies, right? How do we help them get there? How do we help them get the data? And by the way, one clarification: you mentioned uh, performance guarantee,
Guaranteed. Yeah.
basically a bond.
It can be a bond.
Okay.
It can
Uh-huh.
also be a credit enhancement for the person borrowing. But yeah,
Okay. Okay. So okay, now that we've kind of established the what's it called, the context in which InnSure is acting, you did mention that it's a nonprofit. So
yes.
exactly what are the projects that InnSure is involved in to help push us forward through the insurance
So
lens?
so we're one of the projects we are doing is we are project managing a innovation prize. NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, they get their funding from the ratepayers of New York, the utility ratepayers. That little fee goes to NYSERDA, and then they invest probably $1 billion a year and tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars over the last decades, a lot of it into renewable energies, retrofit of buildings, decarbonization of transportation. They have identified that insurance is sometimes, or the lack of insurance, the difficulty of insuring, just the way you described, can be an obstacle to their technologies being commercialized. So they created a $6.5 million program that will give away $5 million, and it's open for applications through the end of July, July 22nd, so coming up pretty quick. For $5 million non-dilutive capital will be given away in grants to 5 to maybe 10 companies that create novel insurance products that accelerate the adoption by de-risking some of these technologies. And it's clean energy, clean transportation, and clean buildings is the underlying technology that can be insured. And it could be through traditional type insurance or some of the more novel performance guarantees. Like I mentioned, there's a number of different examples. So that's one thing that we do on the energy transition side.
No, non-dilutive, meaning
Non-dilutive grants.
better than an accelerator
Yeah.
because you get the cash to build the thing without giving up a part of your company.
And we provide up to $1 million checks, typically 500,000 to $1 million. Grant, it will include it's essentially a procurement, so you'll have to hit milestones over the next 18 months to bring your product to market. But it's a pretty good deal for sure. And we will provide support, visibility, introduction to possible customers, et cetera. So all supported by NYSERDA, which is a very large entity, government, quasi-governmental agency.
Fantastic. So I'm looking at the website for InnSure.
Yeah.
At the top, the $5 million insurance innovation prize is now open for submissions.
Yep.
Kept shaping the future of climate action. We amplify and accelerate climate-friendly insurance solutions via our current projects. No, view or current projects. Okay, so the projects. My internet's slow. My computer's slow. My brain is slow today. All right. Okay. So the current projects. What is the climate risk and insurance sandbox?
So
Or
just like
Chris.
so Chris is, this is also partially funded by NYSERDA.
Uh-huh.
And to your point earlier, you said, hey, with these new technologies, there's no data. How the heck do we underwrite them? What do we do? So we recognize that fact.
Mm-hmm.
What we are doing is we are curating climate risk and insurance relevant data sets, and probably more importantly, transition specific use cases that could lead to new insurance products and services that fit kind of like the NYSERDA challenge model. And what our intent to do is starting either in the fourth quarter this year or first quarter next year is start to run hackathons to engage. You know, the specifics of the hackathons are designed to, you know, move the ball ahead a little bit, but it's also designed to connect people across traditional boundaries from the insurance industry that's focused on more traditional insurance pieces to really expose them to the opportunities related to energy transition, and also the people in the energy transition space and the climate finance space to understand better what the role of insurance is to unlock capital to support innovation in and around decarbonization. So that's what Chris is.
Question. Very important
Yes.
question.
Yes.
Is Chris named after Chris Lowell, or is this
He
a
was
random?
It is rumored that he was involved in the selection of that name, but there is no H in this, Chris. It's climate risk and insurance
Oh my
sandbox.
God, Chris, you're probably listening. Uh, I loved you already. I love you even more, knowing that, like myself, you would have gone out of your way to
Yeah.
to move
If
the letters around to name
we
this
can
after yourself.
brainstorm right now and rename it Tony somehow.
Love that. All right. Okay. So there's Chris. Then there is the community embedded working group. So
Yeah.
what is the community embedded working group? And
So,
so that photo, is
um,
that Richard Stamets in the photo?
I don't think so, but maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway,
I'd have to go look.
what
So,
is the community embedded
so
working group?
community embedded insurance is we spend a lot of time thinking about the protection gap, and regulators often think about how do you make insurance affordable and accessible, and we think about like you have to go even beyond that. You have to close the protection gap in order to actually protect especially the most vulnerable communities, because even small losses can completely wipe out the wealth of vulnerable communities. So we think insurance needs to be reimagined in significantly in order to actually close the protection gap. And we don't think it needs major new specific innovation, but we think you need to bring together a lot of different types of innovation, things like products, so micro insurance, parametric, but also the capital stacks that back these products. Like we think there needs to be probably public, private, blended capital stacks. We also think that insurance, the distribution could be through, if you think about the way group insurance works, that could work at a community level, and you get the power of group purchase across a whole municipality or some other definition of community. We also think there's technology involved and regulatory reform needs to happen. So if you bring all these little things together, it is a dramatic reimagination of insurance delivery, which we think could close the protection gap. And we are working out on promoting this at three levels. One, how do you support communities to give them control of their insurability landscape by just developing capacity? And when I say capacity, not insurance type capacity, but understanding of the role of insurance for community planners. Community planners, they control land use, they control building codes, they control infrastructure. Those are the key tools of insurability. And they don't necessarily know it, like where people live and what they live in and how the infrastructure works. That's what really determines insurability, but they don't plan with insurability on the mind. So that's step one. Step two is insurance companies, they model the heck out of their risk and they manage their enterprise risk by either raising prices or removing coverage or understanding where the risk lands and putting a price on it and making sure they get that price. When you get to uninsured risk, nobody really knows where it is or where it lands or who it lands on or the cost of risk. So we are trying to work with innovators to build what we call is total cost of risk modeling for community planners that can say, hey, if I'm going to spend $1, like, is it best for me to invest in resilience project that bends the cost curve, or a group purchase of insurance, which will transfer it off of the community's balance sheet? How does this all affect like the individuals, the enterprise, and the community budgets? And then finally, we're trying to get to, and we are working with a number of communities working on pilots to say, what if we bought uh, we call it community embedded insurance or community-based catastrophe insurance. What if we bought a group policy for a flood or wildfire? How can we use that to make the community more resilient? So there's a lot in there, but it's a super fertile space for innovation in the industry, and we don't try to do all this. We're really kind of an ecosystem that we're trying to engage with innovators around all those things: product, capital management, technology, etc.
This is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Um, I that was a lot.
That was a
Uh,
lot. I apologize,
and
but it's super
I
exciting.
no, it's fantastic. And I didn't take notes, which I'm kind of glad about because like my fingers would be hurting from the sheer amount of notes.
Well, it's
Uh,
recorded, right? It's all
exactly,
recorded.
exactly.
You can go
I
back.
I I, I do want to back down a little bit.
Yep.
I want to define the protection gap again for the younger listeners who are newer to the industry.
Yeah.
Basically, uh,
Great question.
then correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, historically in insurance, often like there's insurance and there's risk management, and they're kind of two sides of the same coin, right? But risk management. Okay, this is a better example. Okay, so this is insurance, this is risk management, right? So
I love it.
insurance is part of risk management. It's one of the tools of risk management,
Yeah.
but risk management is broader than insurance. Risk management takes into account insured, non-insured, non-insurable risks. Okay. So in insurance, we are very given to go like, oh, we've lost money in that. Let's pull away. Right. While really what that does is create a gap of something that is no longer insured. The risk is still there,
Yeah.
right? We didn't improve it. It's still there. Redlined, so to speak, to use a little
Yep.
bit of the language of the industry back in the day. But it's still there. We're just not covering it, right? It's much better. We're a much better corporate citizen and much better liked, and probably in the long term much more profitable if we help figure out how to cover it, whether that takes a public private partnership, better
Yeah.
technology, different capitalization, whatever.
Yeah.
So basically, yes, anything that we can do so that the next hurricane that hits Florida, it's not, oh, the taxpayers are picking it up
Yeah.
through citizens. It's we have figured out ways to prevent the losses, right?
Yep.
Okay. So yes, anything that we can do on to lower the risk cap is good news. Okay. Uh, Fantastic. So it looks at that those are the main projects. You've described InnSure as an ecosystem, and that's the next tab on the website after the
Okay.
innovation price and projects ecosystem. Why? What do you guys mean an ecosystem? Like I just haven't had anybody else in the podcast describe themselves. A platform is a very common one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you guys mean
So
the
I
InnSure
mean,
ecosystem?
and I said it, I think I said it earlier, like one of the phrases that I love is we like to connect people across traditional boundaries. The challenges that we are trying to solve are like the really hard ones, like incredibly hard. Not that a lot of other innovation isn't addressing hard problems too, but these are hard for like society to address. And we are saying those are the challenges that we specifically want to solve. And we think it needs not just collaboration, but like, and we always like to say bold experimentation to solve these big, huge problems, which requires bringing people together. So we do think of it like an ecosystem. And one of the other things we always like to say is, so we want to bring different kind of stakeholders into the community, from the insurance side, from the public sector side, from the technology side. Uh, but one of the things about, platform, it's a good word too, but ecosystem, like what we like to do is create situations that can cause random, and our kind of office is across the street from MIT, and there's a joke in kind of Cambridge of what does MIT stand for? It really stands for money, ideas, and talent. And so we like to create an environment, an ecosystem where people can get together, talk about these issues, but connect money, ideas, talent, and we like to add data to that to just create the conversation and then see where it goes. We're not trying to like drive it in a specific way. We're just trying to create the environment where connections can be made around these huge problems that are really important to us, and then see where it goes, and then support kind of the things that look promising. So it's very much like nature trying to solve some of the problems, as opposed to like it's not a plan, it's not a very specific plan. We are going to do this, this, and that, and the other thing. It is more organic, quite frankly. So we love ecosystem. You're on mute, I believe, or I can't hear you.
Perfect. Listeners, you made it here in the podcast. Go check out the website, InnSure.org, INNSURE.org. The ecosystems page, the ecosystem page. Our ecosystem is built through a connect, learn, solve methodology, producing bold solutions, ready to fight ready to join the fight against climate change. By engaging in our ecosystem, you will gain access to our network of industry professionals and resources committed to developing climate-friendly insurance solutions. Contact us today. Okay, perfect. Four pillars: reduce the protection gap, accelerate the transition to net zero, incentivize resilient communities, promote nature positive practices. Okay, hold on. What are nature positive practices?
So nature, if you one statistic that I love is that 44% of all GDP ultimately gets back to a natural resource. And I'll give you an example in a second, but nature and biodiversity is critical for us to survive. And so the world needs to be kind of, both individuals and enterprises and whole communities need to be nature positive, which means the damage that is being done by our here, it needs to be kind of offset with things that are improving the biodiversity and the status of nature. And insurance can have a fantastic role. One thing, people call them natural assets. They are indeed assets. If you think of that revenue, the GDP, they are assets, and insurance insures assets. That's what we do. And there's ways to do it. The Nature Conservancy has an insurance group, and they've created really cool insurance products to insure reefs and tie the insurance of the reef to the business models of the hotels and the tourism industry that
That's
relies on
awesome.
those assets.
Uh,
And it completes the circle, and insurance has a really cool role to play.
if you have a connection over there, or if they're listening, I would love to have you on the show to talk about
We can get you to Eric
please
Roberts is involved, Allison Bowden's on our board. The Nature Conservancy is
please connect me with them.
fantastic organization,
I've
and
had the Sunshine Project. I've had their insurance lobbying group.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yes, I had not heard of that. I would love to have them on the show. Perfect.
And we love the Sun Project. I think they're doing stuff. They're trying to get insurance to stop doing like the coal and whatever. We're like the mirror image of that. We're saying like there's all this other stuff you can insure, and we can lean into, create amazing markets, and make the world a more sustainable place.
That is absolutely fantastic. All right. Again, from the website, how we unlock value and accelerate progress across the ecosystem. We accelerate startups that are mission aligned, help them find allies and navigate obstacles to growth by filling gaps in money, ideas, data, and talent. This is a big mission.
Yep.
Align capital. We align venture, impact, and risk capital to enable progressive climate-based insurance solutions. Map the opportunity. We map the intersectional space between climate and insurance, which represents $150 billion opportunity for removing friction in the $1 trillion energy transition market. We integrate climate data. We mobilize talent by connecting and inspiring and empowering existing and emerging leaders from insurance and energy transition focused ecosystems. And finally, we facilitate co-creation, provide environment for innovators to experiment boldly, guide transformational business models from inception to impact. Okay, so Charlie, this is your chance for the action call. So for the listeners, if they made it 35 minutes into our conversation, they care about this stuff, they find it interesting, they're passionate about insurance, they are thrilled to find out that insurance can play a part, or they're a leader at a company going, do I need to jump into this, or do I wait a little longer? Right? I don't want a bad situation, PR or whatever, or financially. Okay. What is the call to action?
Yeah. So Tony, I know you are a huge leader in driving innovation in insurance. Climate change and the changes in market is driving the need for innovation more than ever. And there's so many opportunities and there's so many markets that can be captured. We think that R&D so if you're a leader, we think that R&D needs to increase because things are changing so rapidly. We really need to do more R&D, which means more money going into R&D to solve some of these problems, but it's a great investment. So that's what I would say to the leaders and to the young people who maybe are more passionate and kind of, they have a long life to leave and they see the trajectory of climate,
That's all of them, by the way. All of them.
All of them. Exactly. It should be. I mean, part of the reason I'm doing this is my kids are like, what are you doing, Dad? But what they can get involved with us, and I also say, drive your companies. They will respond to you. You are the talent that they need. And kind of if we could help you learn about some opportunities that are really win-win, we can make the world more sustainable. We can create insurance markets. It's not easy, and I always joke about pet insurance, even though I know pet insurance is a great business. The world really needs these things, and we should be innovating around climate risk and help us do it, and we'll help you get involved in it.
For the young listeners, I know you care about this because you're the ones that are inheriting this mess, right? I'm only 41. I hope to live another 50 or 60, even though I don't take that good care of myself. But even in the best case, and I don't have kids, by the way, so even in the best case scenario, my risk ends in 50 to 60 years. But if you're 25 and your life expectancy with new medical technology is to like 110, and you have kids, you owe it to yourself and your kids to take this fight. And I see you. The leadership is not quite there yet. We're getting there. The change, I do have to give credit where credit is due. The change during the time that I've been in the industry, during the 15 years that I've been in the industry, there has been radical change from complete denial to some level of action. Better in Europe than in the States, but some level of action. To the listeners, to the young listeners, demand action. Unite with your fellow coworkers and demand action, both in underwriting and in investment. And if they don't listen to you, vote with your feet. In the new remote world for insurance, vote with your feet and go to the companies, go work at the companies that live up to your values. This industry has a 1.5% on average. It changes month by month, but generally for the last 15 years, about a 1.5% unemployment rate. They need you more than you need them. Vote with your feet.
I love it. I love it, Tony. I love it. I love it. It's so satisfying. They will be so happy when they do.
Yes, there is nothing more satisfying than doing what you love at a company that matches your values. Please know that.
Yep.
To the leadership that is listening, I should have said the leadership piece first, then the young personal piece. To the leadership, the young generation cares about this, both the clients and the employees. Most millennials care about this. All Gen Zers care about this. That is the great majority of both the workforce and your clients for the rest of your career. And they will vote with their feet.
And your kids care about this,
Yes,
and your
exactly. Your kids,
grandkids,
whether they work in
your
this or not,
nephews.
think
Yeah.
about your kids and your grandkids. Yes, this is the right thing to do. How do you want to be remembered?
And I will also add, there are unique capabilities in this industry that you lead that can really make a difference, and you can create markets. You don't have to just be a fast follower. It needs leadership, and you can drive it, and you'll be a hero to your kids
Yes,
and your
yes,
employees.
yes. I'm about to break into song. Uh, we can be heroes.
We can be
We can
heroes.
be heroes
I'm
just
not
for
going to
one day.
sing, but I
Yes,
want to.
yes, you can be a hero, or you can be remembered by your grandkids as part of the problem. How do you want to be remembered? Either side is profitable. In the long
Yeah.
term, either side is profitable. Okay. Uh, what is the creations labs? Because I see in the about section, I see the executive team.
Yeah.
What is the creation lab?
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about InnSure Core because I think it ties into, and then
Perfect.
I'll talk about Creation Labs. So one of the things, I mean, and you've talked a lot about this in this last half hour or so, it is the next generation of insurance leaders that we think are really going to drive this. So what we're trying to do is InnSure Core is like Peace Corps. We want people from across traditional boundaries to come together, engage in professional development around these specific climate mission driven issues, and that is what InnSure Core is. And then what we tried to do is connect people in ways that say, hey, you guys have an idea or a problem, like we are driving certain problems, as long as it fits into our mission, which is trying to solve those four pillars, the protection gap, etc. We will try to support kind of from, like we like to say sometimes, from blue sky to blueprint. We're not like, how do we get things from 0 to 1? A lot of different kind of mixed metaphors here, but we're trying to get people together, and then Creation Labs is ultimately, we hope that we can build out a venture studio to invest in some of these ideas. But it's more informal right now, and if anybody wants to fund that, well, call us up.
Fantastic, fantastic. We're already going a little bit long, but what is Greeny Re?
So the EPA had I think it was a $20 million greenhouse gas GGRF greenhouse gas reduction fund. Uh, that was designed to support the green banks with loan loss reserves. And one of the applicants was the Coalition for Green Capital, CGC. InnSure, in partnership with Energetic Capital, Energetic Insurance, and ADL, a nonprofit, petitioned the Coalition for Green Capital to say, bank reserves is cool, but wouldn't it be nice to have a mission-driven nonprofit reinsurance company that could invest loss reserves into the types of products that are coming out of the NYSERDA challenge, for example? The Coalition for Green Capital won a $5 billion grant. Probably 4 weeks ago, it was announced. A portion of that, most of that is going to the green banks to support loans, but a significant portion of that will go to supporting the creation of Greenie Re, a mission-driven reinsurer that is designed to provide capital loss reserves quickly to those insurance products that we need to ensure the decarbonization and ultimately resilience too. We hope that it evolves towards that as well. So so there'll be a lot more coming out on that. It's fairly the kind of steps are the government needs to give Coalition for Green Capital money, which then needs to create Greenie Re, and we're part of the founding coalition that got CGC to include it in their application.
Amazing. And that is Greenie, Greenie, like genie, but no, GREEN like green, IE, re like reinsurance, greenire.org, impact insurance to achieve decarbonization. What could be more exciting for an insurance nerd than this work?
Yes.
Charlie, it has been an absolute pleasure.
All mine, brother.
And once Greenie Re gets going, love to have you guys come and talk about Greenie Re. Always welcome to come back and talk about any of your projects. Please know that the Insurance Nerds megaphone stands with you.
Thank you.
And anything we can do to amplify the message of this radically important, not just for our wonderful industry. This is important for our species. And thank you so much for the work that you guys are doing.
Ditto. Thank you. Right back at you. Thank you for all the work you're doing to support the insurance industry of the future, and especially the young professionals that are going to be leading soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.